What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 13 of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. We're going to be talking full spoilers ahead, so make sure to watch this episode for sure. And we're going to do a real quick recap. And basically, the recap is there was a fight. The whole episode was a fight. It's the fight that we were waiting for and hoping for, and we got it. So basically, some of the loose stuff that happens here, because there's a lot of little details. I'm not going to talk about every little punch that was thrown. But Yuji, we see him running through town on his way to the subway, trying to get where he's trying to get. That we saw in the last episode. He sees a bunch of curses killing a bunch of people. He's conflicted between needing to get to the subway and helping these people. Luckily, I forgot his name, but the guy who can't talk, that says like salmon and stuff, he shows up, has a megaphone. We assume he's going to take care of things because he's OP. And we see Yuji go into the subway, and within like milliseconds of him getting there, Choso, one of the last of the brothers, sees him, and we are left. We are at the point where the last episode left off, where they see each other and they instantly fight. Basically, this dude uses blood magic, which seems to be like a blood laser, and they start fighting. He starts shooting lasers, cutting up shit with this laser. He ends up hitting Yuji and pierces his arm, which was kind of fucked up. They fight for a little bit. Yuji gets in there, tries to hit him a couple times. Choso's trying to make space because obviously he's more of a caster type. This kind of reminded me, I've been playing a lot of Lords of the Fallen lately. It almost reminded me of a boss battle because he was like setting up all these moves he was casting at him. While he's taking cover from Choso, because Choso's just shooting a lot of stuff at him, a lot of fighting has already ensued. Mekamaru finally shows up with some information telling him he needs to basically close ground, get into the bathroom. Otherwise, he's going to get worn out and die out here. So Yuji takes his advice and heads to the bathroom. Choso follows, assuming he's going to set up some kind of attack in there, but also recognizes it's a dead end too. So he's trying to figure it out. But during that time, Mekamaru starts taunting him, telling him that he's a coward like his brothers, and basically gets him to come in there. They start fighting, and the sprinklers go off.
And the things are flowing.
Yeah, so there's water everywhere. Choso goes to attack him like he's been attacking him, but realizes that because of how much water is being poured on him, it's basically making it so his coagulation is not working how it should. I think it was like 45% of what it was, something like that. So he's not able to use basically his moves because the blood is thinning out too quickly to be able to create, weapons, things that he can cast. As well as he is used to. They brawl in the bathroom quite a bit with some crazy animation and awesome choreography that we'll talk about. Yuji takes a lot of hits. He gets stabbed in the foot. He gets he gets really fucked up towards the end, but he's also getting some hits in there. He's kicking him through stalls and swinging around shit and kicking him into the wall. It's a really crazy fight that I need to rewatch because there's just so much going on that it was just even if you're not watching the show, if you just watch this episode, you're going to get a taste of Mappa's ability to animate. It was just awesome to watch fight scene wise. Choso is able to fire off something meteorite, which is basically he's able to get off one shot, a sneaky shot, which hits, I believe, Yuji in the liver. So that's pretty vital. That weakens him, but Yuji kind of realizes that he might die here. He needs to take this dude out, though, if he's going to go, because everybody else is depending on him to complete their job of getting Gojo back. So he's basically in self-sacrifice mode. They fight some more, and Yuji kind of gives him a feint, not having used his left hand for most of the fight. He tries to fake him out with a right and put all his power into the left one. He ends up punching him in the side, though. It doesn't do the damage he was assuming because of something we're still kind of figuring out. This dude was using so much of this ability that he has with the blood that it was threatening thrombosis in him. And so that's obviously life-threatening, but he knew that he had to use it to be able to combat Yuji. So they're both kind of in a like a life or death situation here. Because of that, because the strike didn't do what he needed to, Choso was able to get the upper hand on him, and did he chop his arm off or chopped?
Took a chunk of his shoulder.
A huge chunk of his shoulder, and flung him into a wall. And basically, he's getting ready to finish him off, telling him he needs to apologize to his brothers, basically when he's dead. And then something I've been speculating on a bit, waiting for Sukuna to show up in this fight. He did, but not in the capacity that I was expecting. He just kind of remarks on how that he got defeated in this riffraff, basically saying like, this was like nothing. You got killed for this. And then when Choso was getting ready to finish off Yuji with his last strike, he gets some kind of memory that didn't exist, some kind of false memory. In that memory, it's him and his brothers and Yuji hanging out eating spaghetti, all friendly like. This shocks Choso, and he just kind of, I think he punched through the wall. And
he's kind of walking off, and he like punched one of the like its.
Well,
glasses.
no, before that though, he was going to hit Yuji, and then he blasts through the wall.
Yeah.
And then he's like freaking out, and he's walking. Some really cool visual effects, kind of giving us an idea of him being kind of like in a state of being dazed or something. He starts wandering off, punches the side. Also a really cool effect when it shows the memory and then it gets interrupted by him punching the glass. There's really cool visual stuff going on here. And he just kind of wanders off. So I guess we'll find out what that's about in the next episode. And then we get a proper after credits scene with the two girls who said that they were going to...
they would regret betraying them.
They would regret, Geto and them would regret not keeping up their end of the deal. And so they go and find Yuji, and he's still alive, barely, and they have a plan for him, apparently. So that's where we're left off. Basically, it was a whole episode of a fight scene with a lot of little details, but it was fucking crazy. Thoughts?
It's probably the best episode of the show for me.
It was really good.
The entire fight, the entire thing, was so well done. It's pretty impressive. The only thing I could think of right now off the top of my head where like I kind of had the same feeling was with watching old man, I think his name is Yamamoto, from Bleach fight Yuabaha. So pretty wild animation for sure. The choreography was amazing. The imagination of the blood of techniques is the word I wanted was awesome. There's a moment like before they go in the bathroom where he's starting to head towards the bathroom and he's doing the same old thing we've been seeing with the laser, but then all of a sudden he makes a circle out of it real quick to make the floor and the ceiling both like start to collapse at the same time. It was crazy looking.
Yeah, there's a lot of little details too. Like at one point he had like little blood orbs and they were exploding, like knocking Yuji around.
Yeah, like concussive shots. Basically.
That's what it reminded me of, like a boss battle, because like also he had like the spikes that came down and like there's a lot of really creative stuff going on here. And then it wasn't even just held to casting, but also like he used it like as a knife. He stabbed Yuji through the fucking foot, which is brutal. Yuji really got fucked up in this fight. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of I agree. Not only was the choreography of just like the hand-to-hand combat, which really liked,
phenomenal.
It was awesome, yeah. But also the creativity and like environmental stuff with Yuji swinging around stalls and
that was nuts.
Kicking him into the wall and throwing him through the stalls. Like they really utilized that bathroom as a setting for this fight. Which was awesome. But even before that, like you were saying, when they're fighting and Choso had kind of the upper hand in terms of being able to have space, a lot of really, really cool stuff, especially with Yuji dodging certain things. Like just the animation was like phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
I was very, if that wasn't one of the best episodes I've seen of the show so far, it was definitely one of the best fights easily of the show. It was, especially a whole episode, which is a treat, especially with so many of the fights in the show being like big moves and casting, stuff like that. Just to see like a straight up brawl with like magic was like fucking awesome. Anyway.
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. One thing, and this goes through the whole season so far too, that I'm just like really loving about this. It's actually something I really loved about Chainsaw Man as well, is like how like cinematic it feels.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of panning of like scenery and stuff like that, and like really crazy like what would normally be, I guess, camera like changes and stuff like that. Like when they do the flashback, it goes in the old school like 4:3 resolution. It almost has like this 90s grain to it. Without the 90s animation behind it, you would think it was an old ass anime. So
Yeah.
and then like as he's like going into that thing, you get this weird like blinking happening where like you're going from 21:9 to 4:3, and or not 21:9,
Yeah, that was really
16:9
cool.
and 4:3, and it's just like kind of like fading in a really weird
It was
way.
almost like they did a really cool job on like making that feel disruptive, so you
Yeah.
understand where he's coming from. There's like two realities happening, and then also the way he disrupts or like hits the glass.
The
to, like-
transitions,
yeah,
yeah.
the transition from that to that, but also when he's walking, how it was like fading like that on the sides or whatever, like you said.
Yeah.
Changing resolutions, like they did really cool effects to kind of give you some texture to what we're seeing. I guess.
And then even when Sukuna shows himself, like the art style they chose for that was like super creepy, and like it was a lot of fun. It kind
he's
of
like in the shadows, like just kind of, it's just like a commentary from him, but not enough for him to like show himself.
the only
fully.
animation we get is his eyes blinking,
Yeah.
basically, and he's just like menacing, like the
it's
way they
just
drew it.
An observation from him, real quick.
Yeah. Also, Yuji lost. Thank you. Like this is gonna be weird, but like I get tired of like the main characters in shows being like invincible.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's multiple times in the show now just lost is a huge win for me.
He hasn't win a whole lot, like because it's his arc of like getting better and better and better, and that he can even
And
fight
he's
this
getting
dude.
saved by powers above him basically. So
But this was a fight of life and death for both of them.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he is at the point where he can challenge this dude in a way that guy had to think about, like, I could die here.
well, and like I honestly thought he was going to win the fight because
Yeah.
it was such a close fight. I was like, oh, this is just going to be like this exciting fight, and Yuji's going to get like this. Like I honestly like the left hook or whatever he was doing.
I thought he was going to get him with that, yeah.
I thought that was it,
Yeah.
and then it didn't, and he lost. I was like, holy crap, that was a great like I honestly I thought he was going to win, and he didn't. So, thank you.
Yeah, I was expecting him to kill him in this episode,
Yeah.
and then we move on with the story, but we got left with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and
for
he
both
took
of them.
so much damage, it's crazy. So, and then even before the post-credit scene, as we're moving into the credits, the camera doing almost like a curtain close from
Yep.
the right to the left
It was almost like someone was shutting like a door.
it was a great like episode ending effect too.
Mm-hmm.
Without going through all the details of the fight, obviously.
That's what the episode was.
Yeah, those little things I think were great, and then they just chose a bunch of really cool angles during the fight to really kind of like heighten the action scenes. It was a great episode if you especially from just the prospect of animation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole reason I watch anime. Like I can read the story if I was just doing it for the story, I could read the manga. I'm not a big manga reader because I enjoy the experience of watching animation, and this episode was a treat. So
Yeah, I'm sure this fight in a manga was probably cool. It's like, oh shit, they're fighting. But you didn't get this experience. Because, like, one thing I always talk about when it comes to movies, when people tell me books are better than movies, I'm like, they both have their strengths for sure. You can really, if the author allows you, deep dive into more of everything with a book. But cinema, but also any animation, offers you full-on animation, and that's up to whoever's making it to make that worth it. And I think this probably is a lot better to watch than looking at pages, but also you get that direction in the cinematography, but also music. So you get all that tension, you get those frames. You mentioned something earlier that made me think about, like, when you're saying it was cinematic. There's 2 times in this episode that had this like tension building subtlety. One point where they're standing and it just showed their feet, and Yuji's foot moved a little bit, and then it showed Choso move his foot, just showing that they're anticipating each other. But then also in the bathroom when they're both squaring up, and we had found out that Choso is risking thrombosis. Their hands slowly getting closer, or whatever.
Thing, yeah.
You're waiting for who's going to throw the next strike. So like, there's a lot of really good tension. That was very cinematic. That I guess in a manga you would look at a page and maybe it shows multiple, whatever they're called, frames. The hands getting closer, but that's not the same as like that smooth tension with the music behind it. It's super cinematic. They did a really good job. In general,
and most anime doesn't do it like this. So like,
yeah, there's another thing with like Chainsaw Man that I loved was just how cinematic it was. So you can definitely tell these guys are fans of, like, and I'm sure everyone who does animation is, but like these dudes definitely reflect a lot of their love for cinema and film, and a lot of it translates over to the way that they do their shows.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
A small like side tangent thing real quick is like Studio Trigger is another studio I enjoy watching a lot. Even though they're not like hyper detailed, they're very much like an animation company. So they do really crazy animation.
Yeah, all their stuff with their vivid neon colors and stuff in most of their shows that I've seen. But also, it isn't about the detail of every frame, but it is about the imagination of how the animation moves.
Yeah,
it's very exaggerated, and it makes you. It's what the medium's all about. In animation is realizing crazy stuff like that. And so, yeah, that is another one that I really enjoy seeing their stuff, is just because it's so exaggerated. They really take advantage of just what they can do with animation as opposed to like, a movie or a manga. But yeah, really appreciate the cinematic quality of Mappa, but also just this episode was phenomenal in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, though this guy was obviously... knowing that he's one of the brothers, and he probably got told us earlier, and I just went right over my head. But he's still kind of like, a side boss basically. So like there's still like crazy fights to come. Yeah, I don't know, awesome. I'm gonna keep gushing at this point. So
yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add more than that because I already kind of chimed in, but. Yeah, the episode was done really great. It was a treat because the whole episode was a fight. And, we're watching the show. We're reviewing every episode. We've been enjoying every episode. And there's some little fights here and there, whatever, which I'm fine with. But I wasn't expecting, like, a whole episode of this degree of...
whole episode.
Yeah, and it wasn't even, like, a throwaway fight. It was, like, really intense, really well animated, super smooth. Really creative stuff. We already went over that, but like, it was just a really, really entertaining episode. But there's also stakes. It wasn't just a fight to be cool. It wasn't Nanami being a badass and just flinging a dude around, which is also very entertaining, a lot of fun.
Oh, it was amazing.
But this one, Yuji's the main character, and
we haven't had him in years.
Yeah, and he's getting his ass kicked, but he's giving his all, and he's showing promise on. Why he should be a first class or whatever it's called, grade 1?
Grade 1 or something like that. Or special grade.
Whatever.
Special grade.
Yeah, he's moving up and he's taking on dudes like this now and lost barely, but this will be a learning experience from him or for him, and he'll be stronger afterwards.
It's also a fun contrast from basically what we've had with like a lot of Gojo before this, because Gojo is effectively a caster. I mean, the dude obviously can do hand to hand, but he's pretty much like
doesn't
a caster.
Need to. Though. Yeah, he's so powerful he doesn't need to do hand to hand.
Versus like Yuji's a martial artist. His ability is like basically double punching at this point. So,
which is cool to see Choso, who's not. He said he's like not really a great martial artist. He's a caster too, but he's definitely not good at it.
Yeah, he's got a handful of tricks to enhance that for him.
He just can't hit Yuji as hard as Yuji can hit him.
Yeah.
He just, was essentially keeping him busy while he's trying to pull a weapon on him. Mm-hmm. So that was a really interesting dynamic to see, just a full-on, from one point, this dude's just casting shit at him, to a lot of the episode, them just punching and swinging and kicking and shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of really cool stuff. Like the part with Yuji like kicking off the ceiling. Like he like flipped up, his feet landed on the ceiling and launched off and swung at him and stuff. Like a lot of cool shit.
Yeah.
Way too much in one episode. Like I said, I got to rewatch this episode because it was just like it was a fucking treat to watch. But yeah, overall great episode. I dare say it's one of the best episodes of the show easily, in both the fight animation and also the stakes. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, this
Worth
season
it.
has been crazy.
Yeah, the season's been way better than the first one, for me personally. So, and I'm really excited to see what happens next because there's a lot of loose ends from the last episode that we haven't seen anything on, and now there's a new loose end with Yuji. So, we'll see if the girls bring him back or.
Well, I think we get a full 23, 24 episodes for this too, so we still got a lot to go.
Somebody told me 18 episodes, but we'll see.
Well, I think this half is 18 because we had 5, so it'd be.
That's what I was wondering. That's what
the season's 23.
That's what
the
I was wondering.
Arc is 18.
Yeah, that would make sense. But when I was told that, I was like, does that count the 5 episodes or not? Because if it doesn't count the 5 episodes, that would make sense.
Unless I'm just wrong. I mean,
yeah, let us know in the comments.
Let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, probably end it there.
Yeah.
Anything else to say? Otherwise, we're just going to keep gushing.
You guys keep. They keep doing the season like this. It'll be hard to beat, animation wise for the year. So
Sure.
there are some shows this season that I'm enjoying immensely story wise, but this it's gonna be hard to beat animation wise for sure. So
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode. What were the highlights for you? What did you think overall? And is there something that happened in this episode that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about? Let's have a conversation. And if you have read the manga, please no spoilers because we are going through this blind. We have not read the manga, so we get to experience stuff like this, and it's exciting because we had no idea it was coming. So let's keep it that
no
way.
spoilers this today either, which was nice.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on this at all. But we also watched it day
Today.
of, so yeah, we've been kind of lagging on that. So, but yeah, let us know what you're thinking when it comes to this episode and what you think is going to happen in the future episodes without spoilers. But I've been Seth, it's been Chevy, and until that next episode, we will talk to you guys later.